Are you noticing more lines and wrinkles lately and immediately thinking about Botox? If so, it might not be Botox that you need. It might be that your skin is actually under-moisturized and super dehydrated. Before you need to consider muscle paralysis, think about a better hydrating and moisturizing system. So in this video, I want to show you what I do for myself and on my patients that is not only easy, accessible, but is a total game changer for moisturizing and hydrating skin, to the point where people just forgot that they were thinking about Botox because your skin's looking so plump and juicy and glowing. So sit back, relax, and let's go. Hello again, I'm Sandra. I'm an acupuncturist and a TCM or Chinese medicine practitioner, and I use all the brilliant, wonderful tools of Chinese medicine to treat dermatology conditions and cosmetic concerns. So I'm not going to tell you that Guasha can freeze up your lines the way that Botox could with like 20 units of Botox, because we're not freezing the muscle. You're still going to be able to move, but the goal here is to plump the skin. So the most important step when your skin is dehydrated and under moisturized is using a hydrating mist or toner, and they often come as a spray. This one I use a lot by Josh Rosebrook, and I also really like this one by Marie Veronique, Balancing Hypotonic. And this is one I really love when I'm super dry, which more mature skin tends to be. Like when you kind of reach like your late 30s, early 40s, the skin does tend to struggle to keep those like high, juicy moisture levels. And that's part of the reason why we see our skin getting wrinkles and forming more stubborn lines. So I want to show you the way I use hydrating mist, and I also do it this way on my patients. All right, so the hydrating fluid that I'm going to use today is by Marie Veronique. Now this does not have a spray top, but I want you to see that it is a liquid, right? And that's what's important about this first step, because the skin needs something this consistency to really penetrate and to begin the plumping process. So the way I apply this is I just dump it in my hand, but you could also put it on a piece of cotton and apply it like this. Key number one, when you apply your hydrating fluid, is to massage it in. Notice how I'm getting it into every little nook and cranny. It's as if I'm applying an oil, right? Except it's a fluid. Now, if you're using a spray mist, this is how much I apply. A lot. This is not the step to skimp on. I encourage you not to be afraid. Really use up your hydrating toners and mists, because if you do this right, you actually don't need a lot of oil, which is usually the more expensive product ounce for ounce, right? Now, the other thing that most people don't do is they don't apply multiple layers of fluid, which you can totally do. So that was layer number one. I'm going to go ahead and apply another layer. I think it's important that you continue to apply layers until your skin can remain kind of tacky damp for at least like 30 seconds, enough time for you to reach for your oil. So my skin could use another layer, so I will apply that. And still, I could probably use one more layer. Now, I find that with Marie Veronique, 3 to 4 layers is about my maximum before it starts to feel sticky. It will feel tacky, and I don't mind that. I actually look for that when I'm hydrating skin. When it feels tacky but not too sticky is when it's getting hydrated, okay? That's the sign that I'm looking for. Now, if you use an active, like a vitamin C serum or a hyaluronic acid serum, or sometimes I use this Revox Line Relaxer Serum, you can apply that now. If you don't use an active serum, which is totally optional, you can skip to the next step. Okay, but after applying hydrating fluid thoroughly is when you would use your actives. Before I apply my oil, I just want to give myself a little layer of wetness, of dampness, and so I'm going to apply some more hydrating fluid. This time I'll go ahead and use my Josh Rosebrook because it's a little lighter, but you can just use the same one. You don't have to have two. So one small layer just to get my skin damp, very clearly damp. You can see it starts to deliver glow. It starts to supplify, I like to say, or soften the skin. The other mistake that some people make is that they do not apply a moisturizer on over your fluid layer, and you have to. You cannot just put on hydrating fluid and call it a day. If you do that, you are 100% going to get dry. When you use fluid, when you apply water to your skin, it opens the skin, and so that whatever comes after it is gonna pull in and penetrate better. That's why a lot of people say if you're really sensitive to retinols that you should not apply them to wet or damp skin. That's because they can penetrate more quickly and deeply. Same logic applies to this. So we applied the fluid, so now the skin has pulled it in, but now we have to seal the skin. Now, since our goal here is skin plumping for line softening, I'm gonna use sea berry oil by Apoterra Skin. It's made for acne prone oily skin, but I actually find this is a wonderful oil for even dry skin. So what I do is I just grab a few drops. And this is another key. Some people use way too much oil. I'm gonna start with 4. See how little that was? If you're using like half a dropper full for your face, that's probably too much, even if you're dry. So what I like to do is apply it to my hand and massage it here first. This actually gives you a much smoother, much more balanced application of your oil. So now we go ahead and apply the oil and we're going to massage it in. And 4 drops was all my skin needed. So see how this system can save you money on your oils, which are usually more expensive than the hydrating mists and toners. Okay, so we're massaging it into every crevice. You're probably wondering here, well, can I just use a cream? You can totally use a cream. I just find that most creams don't satisfy me and what I'm looking for when I'm trying to plump lines. Now, if you're so dry that you still feel dry, then you can apply more oil. But what I would recommend is that you first apply another layer of hydrating fluid. So when I'm hydrating and moisturizing, I think of a layer cake. Fluid, serum, fluid, oil. If I want more oil, another layer of fluid, then oil. Does that make sense? Okay, so my skin is looking pretty fire, I would say. Now I'm going to add a Guasha technique I call strumming, which is going to mega boost what I've already done with just skincare. So Guasha is going to help moisturize from the inside out because it's going to bring blood flow to the skin, and I can softly break down some of the adhesions in the fascia that block my skin from receiving all those juicy fluids that it would otherwise receive if those adhesions weren't in the way. So I have a whole video that you should check out on strumming, on the neck and jaw specifically, and this is a form of micro strumming where I use my comb edge, this little tiny comb edge on my LANSHIN Pro Guasha tool. So usually for me in the wintertime, these lines pop when I'm dehydrated. So what I do is, you can kind of see the grain of them. These horizontal lines, I'm gonna just go across them with my comb. So I'm playing my forehead like a violin. So if my forehead is the violin and my Guasha tool is the bow, I'm just strumming across it. And what I want you to notice is these little ripples. This is like a subtle vibration that I'm creating in the tissues. And this is stimulating that blood flow here quickly. This is my express technique, right? So I'm gonna do this first for like 1 to 3 minutes across where I'm concerned about lines, just depending on how much time I have. And I have a whole class on this on demand if you want to really dig into the technique that I'm showing you here. And then after I micro strum my lines, then I do some Guasha strokes over it. So this is your more classic Guasha that you know and love and have seen before. This tool has special edges that I can use to really amplify the result. And I do get a little pink, which is okay. This is gonna fade in the next couple minutes, but we just finished with some Guasha strokes here. And that is helping to essentially moisturize from the underside of the skin. Does that make sense? Because we can't like reach our finger in there and like put like cream on the underside of the skin, this is what we can do. So, okay, so let me show you how I work with this line here, which is kind of like a nasolabial line. It's more of a nasolabial line than a nasolabial fold. It honestly, it does not bother me, but I'm just gonna show you how I work with it. So I just micro strum across it. You see how you get that little ripple? Just vibrating the skin. Right, like that. If you don't have a tool with a comb edge, you can apply a zigzag. So I'll support my skin and just zigzag instead. See how I like zigzag across the line. Now for nasolabial fold, you actually have to start back of the jaw and really loosen up the tension in the jaw. That's a whole other class. Let me know if you want to see more of something like that. Whatever you want to see me do and show you, just put it in the comments because we really do listen to you. Okay, so that's how I work gua sha over that line. This is something you have to do repetitively. You're not going to be able to make it disappear in one go, but if you work with it frequently, it will start to change. So I don't actually work with this line that often because I don't really care about it. Honestly, there's just so much you can really care about as you get older. It's just, I don't think it's necessary to try to like freeze every line or soften every line. The ones that do bother you the most, work with those, okay? And then smoothing it out. So as I'm working with gua sha here, I sometimes also will apply a little more hydrator on top of the oil, and that just keeps layer caking those fluids, right? So this really is nice for just really continuing to plump the skin.
And now a quick message from our sponsor, us. On the LANSHIN website, we have a skincare no-tox set available with everything you see here, starting with the Marie Veronique Hydrating Fluid, the Apoterra Sea Berry Facial Oil, and the Adipo Active Face Cream. This is available as a set for 15% off. It's also available with the LANSHIN Pro Gua Sha tool for 20% off, or with the LANSHIN Sculpting Spoon in Jade, also for 20% off. And for our YouTube fans, you get an extra $10 off any of these options with the code YouTube10. And to learn exactly how I incorporate these products with a gua sha no-tox routine, we also have this class available all on LANSHIN.com. And now back to the show.
When you're finished with gua sha, a lot of people wonder if they should wash everything off. And I say no, because I just put all this beautiful moisture and fluid and then worked it even further into my skin. I don't want to wash this off. The last thing I want to do is wash this off. Now, if you have oily, acne-prone skin, that might be a different story. If you're oily and acne-prone, most likely you're not really dealing with lines too much yet. That's not true for everyone who's oily and acne-prone, but for a lot of you, usually your skin is overproducing oil. So for most of you, I would say leave this on and apply a finishing step. This finishing step is a cherry on top of a line plumping layer cake of fluid and hydration, and I just love it. So I call this my magic softening cream. This is Adipo cream. Its claim is that it increases facial fat over time. Honestly, I'm really not sure if it actually does that. I'm not expecting that from this product because I love how well it just moisturizes and plumps the skin and helps to minimize the look of lines. That's what I use this for. This is how much I apply. And now I apply this in a very specific way, which is what they recommend. And it's like a face mask. So see, I just take some in my fingers and I paint it on. And I really make sure to paint it on the lines that I'm trying to soften. And that's usually my forehead lines. So notice that I'm just painting it on, and as soon as I don't see the white, I leave it. In other words, I'm not like rubbing it in like we did in our hydrating fluid step or even in our oil step. Once it feels like a thin layer of icing, I leave it. If it's morning, I'll wait like 5 or 10 minutes, let it kind of soak, because you might think, oh my God, I look so wet and shiny. So just give it 5 or 10 minutes and then come back and do your SPF and your makeup. It helps makeup look so much more moisturizing instead of giving your makeup that cakey look. Even if I'm not doing gua sha, I still go through all of these steps. I start with my hydrating fluid. I use multiple layers. I massage those layers in, and then I'll apply my active serums, which is usually vitamin C in the morning for me. Sometimes I use retinol, sometimes I don't. And then sometimes I use this Revox line relaxer, and then I'll do my oil, my penetrating oil. So all of the oils that I use, they have to have a great texture and they have to be good at penetrating. Otherwise I won't use it. I'm really happy with how my skin looks. I feel like my skin just looks plumped. And even though some lines, like if you watch me talking, like my movement is still creating like these lines here, but who cares? You know, the rest of my skin looks so good. Nobody just looks at the problem area of your face. Our face is not perceived as 2 nasolabial folds or brow lines or even forehead lines. People observe your face as a whole, as a balanced whole, and that's what you should do too. So when I look at my face right now as a balanced whole, I like it. I'm happy with it. I love the way that all of these steps have created such a beautiful light reflection on the surface of my skin, which is, you know, what youthful skin does. Youthful skin really bounces light beautifully. So that's it. That's how I skincare no-tox myself. And even if you do Botox, this is still a worthy system to try and to use, because Botox doesn't necessarily amplify the health of your skin, right? So you still have to take care of the skin and the tissue itself. It could even help extend the time between Botox treatments, right? And so wouldn't that be nice? Save a little money? I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please give us a like and a subscribe. It'll take you 2 seconds and it helps us make more great content about how we use Chinese medicine to create beauty, longevity, and most importantly, to have the health that you deserve. Okay, that's it for now. I'll see you next time. Bye.